everybody, it's Sunday Sweet 16 action. Tony George from Doc Sports, along with my good friend Sean Salisbury, who jumps in with his insight. Be sure and catch Sean on iHeartRadio on the Sean Salisbury Show each and every day over there, one of the best sports talk shows in the country. And lots of stuff to talk about Texas sports-wise, as we mentioned in our previous video on the Saturday Sweet 16. But nonetheless here, we're talking about, well, first of all, undisputed, unargued, number one best team in the country in the Gonzaga Bulldogs. This is the best team in the country, folks. Have no illusions, they're the best team in the country. Creighton is not. Creighton is a 13.5-point underdog, and this total is at 158.5, Sean. And Gonzaga has done a nice job of just dismantling anybody that's come up against them in this tournament. They're about as deep a team as you're going to find in the tournament. They're one of the most well-coached teams in the tournament. And that's not taking anything away from Doug McDermott and Creighton. This is a good basketball team that survived the Big East this year. They got caught with their pants down against a red-hot Georgetown team in the Big East tournament, as Villanova did, as Seton Hall did, as everybody did. And so nonetheless here, but Creighton has come out, and they looked a little unimpressive in that win over UC Santa Barbara, Sean. Now, for those people living this side of the Rockies, there is Pac-12 basketball. There is West Coast Conference basketball. There is Big West basketball. And UC Santa Barbara was a very good basketball team with really a couple of big guys that gave Creighton a lot of problems. And we kind of knew that going into that game. I talked about it right here on one of my free play videos here, Sean. But an amazing stat here, Sean. On the year, Gonzaga has hit 63% of their two-point shots. I mean, that is just unbelievable. And they're averaging 4.9 points per 100 possessions than any other team in college basketball. Are they stoppable? Can Creighton stop them here, Sean? This is a big number.
This matchup is tough. I just got done talking about scores and underdogs. This is the one where I'm not leaning towards the dog. Gonzaga is deep. They may have three first-round picks. Hell, Suggs is capable of being the first pick of this draft. Phenomenal athlete, unbelievable. You got Timmy, who had an unbelievable. It was against Oklahoma where he went haywire. You've got Kispert, who can destroy you. I mean, when you're shooting what he's shooting from beyond the arc, and you mentioned two-pointers, and there's this perception about Creighton that they're a three-point team. They're actually better in the two-point area. Both of these teams are two-point dominant, yet Kispert, I don't know how, Tony, I guess what I get to, if Gonzaga plays their best throughout the tournament, I mentioned in Florida State the way Alabama's playing, Baylor is starting to do their thing again. If you start to say Houston's got a nasty defense, if Gonzaga plays their best, they're going undefeated for the first time and winning a national title for the first time since Indiana with Scott May and Kent Benson, that group, right? They won't be beat if they play their best. You talk about that small town or small college type mid-major, that we don't use that term anymore, coach, that didn't leave and decided to stay at his team. Now he's turned Gonzaga and Mark Few into a powerhouse, right? So the Archie Millers of the world who left Dayton and go to Indiana and now aren't there. We mentioned, Shaka Smart. Mark Few's the one who's been able to turn three-star guys or four-star guys, keep them around, and they stay a while and go dominate. I don't see how Creighton matches up on the defensive end with him. I just don't. If Gonzaga plays 85% of their best, they're winning this game. I'll take the over. I think Gonzaga's going to be up around 90 points, Tony. I really do. I think they're going to win this by 14 or 15 points. I think they may hang around a little if they get a problem. If you don't get, if you go 3 or 4 possessions and miss, you're going to come back from a timeout and you're going to be down 12. That's how this team is so energetic, so deep. I just don't see how Creighton, God bless them, and they're well coached and a good team. They're going to have their best game of their life this weekend, and against Gonzaga to win. I got Gonzaga, Tony. I'm taking the over in this game, and I also think Gonzaga wins. I think it's probably a little bit of a boat race. I think you'll see it pull away at the end, and this is a 14, 15-point game. I like the Zags.
Well, I agree
And
with
that's a
you.
high number. Yeah, high number too.
I'm going to cut it in half and say Gonzaga gets out early, especially late in the second half, and really establishes themselves. I'll lay the 7.5 in the first half line, and I'm going to leave the 13.5 alone because I don't know when Mark Few's going to. Usually, you say when you're talking about a basketball team when he's going to rest the starting five if he's up. The
Right.
problem is the second five's damn near as good as the first five.
They might have made the tournament. They might have made the tournament themselves as a second five. That's right.
You got that right. So that's a problem. And the other problem too here is if you take a look at the last 5 games offensively, Creighton scoring 65 points a game, Gonzaga 87. I think Gonzaga can get close to 100 in this game. Even if the wheels come off for a 5 or 6 minute period, they can still get to mid 80s to mid 90s in this game. Gonzaga's defense has been overlooked. 61 points per game allowed their last 5. So they're doing it on both ends of the floor. I'm a big Creighton fan. I'm a big Doug McDermott fan. I think that Christian Bishop's a very good basketball player for Creighton.
Big time.
I think he's extremely talented. I think he's an NBA talent. The problem is Gonzaga's got 3 guys that might go in the first round. You know, and they'll have 2 guys for sure, and probably 1 in the second for sure. This is a great
I think it's going to be 3.
It's one of the best basketball teams that I've seen in college basketball in the last 5 or 6 years. I mean,
I would agree.
And the one thing about Creighton, too, all year long, Creighton's been a mixed bag. You don't know what you're going to get with them. They're not consistent. Where one thing about Gonzaga, if they're not consistent, he refreshes the bench, and they become consistent almost immediately on the floor. They just are relentless in scoring the basketball. I'm not afraid to lay 13.5 here. I like the first half better. And it usually takes Creighton a while to get going, too, which has kind of been their MO this year, where Gonzaga is going to come out with their hair on fire. So I'm in agreement with Sean Salisbury here. I think the over's in play here, despite the defensive numbers, because you can throw those out the window in this game. It's going to be a shootout. You look at points per possession for these 2 teams. Gonzaga is number 1 in the country. And let me tell you something. The Creighton Bluejays are 40th. So they're no slouch. You know, you're going to see
they're going to have to make some. Yeah, they're going to have to make that 2-point. They're going to have to make some threes in this game. I mean, a consistent amount of them to hang around, Tony. Because if you start swapping 3s for 2s, even though Gonzaga's a great 2-point scoring the basketball team, that is too much. You're going to have to let them score 2. You go get 3 because you're going to need to hang around. Keep an eye on the 3-point shooting of Creighton this weekend too when they size this one up against Gonzaga.
I listened to a podcast where somebody interviewed McDermott yesterday, and he said, if you can't beat them at their own game, you're going to have to join them. Well, what's that mean? That means you're going to come out firing big time.
No doubt.
And I agree with that coaching philosophy. If you're going to go in there and try and do something to Gonzaga that everybody's trying to do all year long unsuccessfully, you're going to get your ass kicked. So he's going to go in there and he's going to cut them loose. Going to cut them loose, say run the floor and jack them up. And you know what? Anybody can catch lightning in a bottle and hit 45% from 3 in a game against Gonzaga up and down the floor and hang in there. I mean, it's very possible that could happen. I just think Gonzaga's just got way too much depth for him. So
if you're racing Secretariat, you better be able to handle the whole race, brother. Or it'll be a 32 length victory or whatever that was, 32 and a third. We got a game. So much respect for Creighton. I think Coach McDermott also knows, and you make a great point, Tony, and so does he. Hey, if we miss one, keep hoisting, brother. Let's go. We're not supposed to beat this team, so let's let it rip and hang around late, and then maybe we got a shot, no doubt.
The old quarterback talking, Sean Salisbury there. Hey, with late in the game and we're down. If they're gonna play a prevent defense, I'm gonna chuck it all day long. You know,
bingo.
Booyah. There you go,
yes,
folks.
Sir.
It is Gonzaga for Sean for the game. I'm going to go first half. You can have a little fun with this one. Stick them in a money line parlay with a couple other teams you like, and go ahead and have some clear-cut, obvious choices this weekend. Sweet 16 action, DocSports.com. We got a free $60 in the link in the description below for you. Enjoy your basketball action. Sean and I will be back next week talking Elite Eight. We're going to talk a little bit about the NBA, and we're going to start touching on some Major League Baseball, which is right around the corner, with Sean Salisbury. Thanks for tuning in, folks.